Maps are in, ladies and gentlemen. Our 9-map pool will be reduced to 3 with the following bans. How does it go?
Liquid,
Oregon.
like they mentioned.
Oregon won't be here. Millennium's banned that out straight away. Consulate was Liquid's first ban. Bank, Skyscraper, we won't have that again. Clubhouse and Chalet have gone to a small murmur and warm, gentle appreciation of applause by Atlantic City behind us.
So, Millenium wanting Coastline again. I don't think that's any surprise. I don't see Liquid being afraid of Coastline, because they should clearly have banned that if that would have been an issue. They saw them play on it yesterday, and that might be one of the reasons they're actually choosing it.
Yep.
But yeah, exactly. So unless Millenium has other tricks up their sleeve, which it seems like they would, I don't see why they would pick a map that they literally just played against the other region's team. And then Kafe being the second map and Border the decider. And Cafe's a close map, but especially with Latin America's knowledge of how to be aggressive and their aim skill, it won't be...
I'm excited to see CAF, because when we saw them bring out the new stuff in Oregon, CAF is one of the maps where we haven't seen a lot of new things. Sure, you move one reinforced wall, you move a mirror a little bit, but the way you play, the way the attacks are happening are almost always the same anyway.
Yeah.
I want to see Liquid bring something we haven't seen on that map, and maybe turn around the default way of playing that.
Kafe has an interesting playstyle. It's either you get a first pick right off the rip, or it's kind of slowed down, they take and give position, and nothing really happens until there's like 40 seconds left.
And it has those 3 like predictable positions on top floor, right? You always have someone white, you always have someone cocktail, and you always have someone around freezer. So on attack side, you always know where 3 of the defenders are going to be when you attack the top floor. And I expect Liquid to change that up a bit.
Let's find out. Liquid can stop this being an all-European final and get a Latin American team in, and one step closer to Latin America finally winning the trophies at the end of a season. Millenium can give us a rematch of 2 games we've seen this season entirely in Europe. One way or another, Penta are watching closely to see who it is they're going to be placing. Let's go then with Kickstar and Interrobang, and let's get things started. Ladies and gentlemen, live here in Atlantic City for Liquid and Millenium.
Thank you so much, Matt. And our final semi-final of the day will determine who meets Penta Sports in the finals here.
Yeah, this is a pretty exciting match because we're looking at either a double European final or a European versus Latin American final. And as you well know, we don't have a Latin American champion yet for the Pro League. So, of course, Liquid's going to be fighting tooth and nail. But equally, Millenium, they've been on a slow build that started at the beginning of the season and just seems to be ramping up and up and up. Every match Millenium plays, they look stronger and stronger. And they definitely cannot be counted out.
Picking up both Rise and Hicks in the offseason has proven to be a very great strategy for Millenium, as the French, as you said, have built and built and built upon already a good success rate with the team, and now have made some small tweaks and are looking even better. Scary, as I would say, as they are probably one of the best teams in the world at the present moment, and they'll go up against the Latin America powerhouse of Liquid, who dispatched Fnatic in a pretty quick 2-0 yesterday.
So we're going to be loading into the first map, and that is Coastline. So a very interesting map to begin with, something we don't see every day, that's for sure. And I think Coastline actually coming into its own in towards the end of this season. I think a lot of teams are actually starting to do away with their distrust and distaste for this map, and it's become a little bit more of an even playing field that many teams are all comfortable on competing with.
It's a map where there's really only one site that you don't go to, which is typically that hookah site upstairs.
Very dangerous.
With Millenium going up top to Penthouse and Theater. This is typically seen as the default site on this map, though I know a lot of teams do favor kitchen downstairs as well, but it's a pretty safe bet to start off on the second floor.
Yeah, this is definitely, I mean, especially in the ranked meta, this is the #1 bomb site, and it is a viable bomb site here in competitive as well. The one thing that you have to be careful with on this bomb site is focusing too intensely as a defensive squad on Projector, that room you could see to the left where Hicks and Renshiro are. If you have too much of your defensive emphasis placed there, then you're a one-dimensional defense and you don't have the ability to deny the plant in the B bomb site if the attacking team can get some very simple smokes down and a plant to follow it up. As well, you have to be careful of Candelas. A single Candela into Projector in the middle of the room will blind every defender holding that room and can be very dangerous as well. So it's likely we'll see Millenium try a very loose strategy where they'll have multiple roamers and an ability to flank and harass the attack.
You know, we saw some very nice echo strategies employed by Millenium on this map yesterday. Rise was playing the echo drone underneath the pool table, popping up to try and get a FaZe off of the plan as they were going for it. It worked successfully, won them around, and now you see Rise on Valkyrie, currently in a side of Hall of Fame, colloquially known as Guitar or Red Hall, depending on where you're from.
It's got a multitude of names.
Like, Coastline seems to be the one map as Ness gets the first kill, immediately traded off by Hicks. Ness going for another. Oh, Ness, 2 very fast kills. Just started just a minute in, almost grabs a third, but not Liven, or Lyman, as you could call him, Livin, technically.
Leavin.
Or Leavin, technically, as he manages to scoot on by, but
I don't think you could shoot through that bed.
I don't believe the bullet pen is what they need it to be.
No, it is not.
Tossing a stun grenade.
So, a couple bullets sprayed. Arai will not hit any target there. Renshiro going to be holding that mirror window in the A bomb site, looking to even this out a little bit. Thanks to some amazing positioning and gunplay from Nesk alone, he was able to get that early advantage. And there's still plenty of time for Liquid here, as well as good amount of control. Now, we see here an unreinforced strategy from Millenium, but the problem is we've got both an Ashe and a Zofia to open up that wall as much as Liquid wants.
I'm sorry, what was that? Oh my word. They've got the LMG being run on the Zofia, likely a very specific choice, and lots of suppressing fire, as I didn't notice that they were running the LMG.
It's a bit of an oddity, that's for sure, but it's already dispatched thanks to Renshiro. What a shot from him. I can't wait to see the highlight for that. PSK, though, has pushed into the site and is planting that diffuser. It's even score here so far, but there's nothing from Millenium to stop that diffuse plant, and it looks like they're going to have to struggle for a retake in the post plant.
Leaving downstairs, trying to regain some map control. He'll have to push up through Cool Vibe stairs to try and get closer to the site. Nask, who's already got 2 kills, looks for a third. He'll exchange words with Hicks. A C4 blows up not too far from the Ashe, and as well PSK. But Nask will take down his third. He's already got an ace yesterday. He's only 2 kills away from completing the set. But it's going to be PSK jumping in, taking out Leavin, and Bullet will also join the fray, and Liquid will take round number 1 in pretty convincing fashion. Millenium fighting from behind after an early pick is going to be the story of that round. Just a quick jiggle peek and dispatching one of those defenders. They'll give the Brazilians round number 1.
A lot of that you can attribute to how easily Nesk took control over Guitar and VIP. Once that control had been established, as well as the man advantage, it was a pretty easy take through VIP into the site, get that diffuse plant, especially considering we don't have an Echo, and there's only one C4 in place. That C4 that was in a position to deny the plant was in fact not able to be used because Renshiro was smoked off and wasn't aware that that plant was going down. There was not nearly enough information or prompting from Millenium, and because of that, trying to retake into the post plant, I mean, that's tricky no matter who you are, and Liquid really buttoned up and did not allow any gaps or holes, so Millenium didn't have much of a chance after that.
Yeah, it didn't look like the typical Millenium that we've seen that can just run over its opponents. I mentioned earlier on that typically you don't see hookah. You don't. The bomb site is below it. But Liquid is going to use a strategy that we see on a number of different maps, which is put a lot of an investment in the rooms above the site. It's very interesting for both Sunrise and Blue Bar defense, because usually teams will run a castle strat that essentially expands the site towards kitchen, but that's not the case at all here. However, Blackbeard is particularly powerful on these windows, and Renshiro has proven to be one of the best Blackbeards currently in Pro League. He's done some damage yesterday. We'll see if he can continue that today.
Yeah, Renshiro, I believe, had about a 70% headshot rate yesterday, and that's with a DMR, no less, so very impressive. Of course, not his only weapon, but still impressive from him. He is definitely someone to be feared on that operator. Now, the reason we're having Liquid extend their site up to the top floor is because usually you see so much easy, immediate access, from the south side of this building. You could see that these attackers are going to be able to move their way into Aqua via this balcony very easily, but they can also do the same downstairs into Office, which is right next to the site. So you need, as a defender, to distract these attackers and waste a little bit of time. But as a defender, not get lit up quite as much as we just saw Zig. He was going to drop down to the site, and Sexy Cake, what a C4. So it's not all bad for Liquid after Zig has been downed and finished off. But Ness going to continue to fight back. The amazing player that he is, he's really standing up for his team right now.
It's actually been a little while since we've seen Ness play out of his mind the way that he did at, I think it was the Invitational in the group stages where he really carried the way for his team. It's been much more evenly spread, and I think being paired up with somebody like Sexy Cake has allowed the rest of the team to flourish, and Nesk hasn't had to do all that heavy lifting for Liquid the way he has in the past. Now, Millenium has site control from above, rather, or thought they did. As Bullet on the lam, they'll take out Rise, but immediately Levin is there to trade him off, meaning that's still an advantage for Liquid. Now it looks like PSK will be reset. Yogurt's on next to no health, and Levin just firing a couple shots into a soft wall. Only 45 seconds left. You'll see Levin will get a kill on the PSK. It's all tied up into a piece, and they'll eject the mirror window as well. The head of the mute seen just for a second, and the F2, which usually is so good at finding its target, is not able to connect as much as they want. Sexy Cake will get away with just a shred of health, and it's up to the SAS duo of the Smoke and Mute left. But Nesk on Smoke will take out Yogurts. He's having a great start to this match. It's all up to Levin, who will get smoked out and will have to wade in through. Goes for a pre-fire, can't connect, but finally does. That huge magazine of the SMG-11, can he clutch? But no, Nesk with the shotgun. Goodbye, Levin, and it's Liquid extending their lead. I also just wanted to point out, you may notice that Liquid is running a whole host of pentacharms on their weapons. They were doing that yesterday as well. Could that be a sign of respect? And also a tip of the hat saying, yeah, we want to play Penta, let's do it.
I think it's a little bit of, I think they're out for blood. I think Millenium wants to go to those, they want to go to those finals, and they want to win and get that title. But anything's possible, could go either way still. While we have a 2-0 lead in Liquid's favor, it's not over yet, that's for sure.
No. So, with Millenium getting an opportunity to defend again, they have every site unlocked. They're going to opt to go downstairs to the exact same site that we just got to see from Liquid's perspective. It's now just going to be flipped. So we'll see if they're going to run a similar strategy. It doesn't appear so. Typically on this site, you're going to be relying a lot on your Castle and Mira to make it very difficult for the attackers to push the site quickly and waste enough time so that your anchors on site can contend when the push comes. That's what Liquid just did. They had Sexy Cake after getting that beautiful C4 kill to start things off, was able to retreat to the site, and then you had Nesk there just to clutch it for them.
Yeah, and it really was, again, like you say, a lot due to the delay, the amount of time that was able to be wasted. A little bit more open on the strategy and setup here from Millenium as opposed to what Liquid used, but very, very similar, that's for sure. Now, Liquid don't seem to want to be addressing this from the south side, which is what Millenium attempted last round. They're instead looking for their options, looking for the opportunities. They're going to have to be quick, though. We have seen often if a team's unsure where they want to attack, they can waste a lot of their time, and it can put them in a tricky situation in the latter half of each round. They're just right now skirting around this northwest balcony looking for that opportunity.
I find it very entertaining that this is the second time that we're seeing Liquid ape a strategy, or rather a strategy be aped in a match with Liquid, because it was Liquid basically running a very similar strategy to Fnatic yesterday, and now we have the exact same thing just being repeated by Millenium. 1 minute is off the clock, and you can see that Foyer has been completely opened up, And it's going to be Dakabi of Bullet walking through. First kill is going to go to Leven. He's going to take down PSK, but Nesk is just going to sprint in, doing exactly what Nesk does. 2 for Zig, and Zig gets taken out, so you're going to see where can Nesk be to wreak havoc. Right now, currently 3v3 as you see a flurry of kills. They managed to get the plant off, even though Sexy Cake is taken down. Renshiro's going to expend 1 C4, and you know that there's 2 left, 1 playing by that foyer and 1 by the window as well, just guarding that diffuser. And right now, where is the rest of the team? Renshiro seems to be doing this all by himself. Rise is going to run outside. You see Nesk is just seated. He'll pop up. Oh, Renshiro, a beautiful shot. It's going to leave Bullet sitting over that diffuser. He's in a strong position, and they're going to need to team up on him as the diffuser hits just halfway or so. He's in a good position. The Mira's back. Start to work on the diffuser. Here comes Bullet. He'll fire through, can't get him in time. He'll pop it off. Rise gets Bullet, and that'll be it. But do they have enough time?
They do not.
No! Oh my!
Not enough time, and the attackers will take the 3rd round. That's Liquid putting it into a 3-0 lead, thanks to a very assertive diffuse plant shortly into the round. I think it was about, I want to say, a minute after the round had started, they were already in and planting under cover of smoke. And we had Renshiro fighting back as the individual hold on that site, but it really was not enough.
There were 3 members of Millennium alive. And Renshiro was really the only person doing any significant work after that plant went down until the final 15 seconds. You might remember a somewhat comical situation upstairs in Master Penthouse that involved Millennium not being able to locate a diffuser, and you could, as the kids would meme, say, running out of time to get the diffuser, and Millennium name a more iconic duo.
Yeah, I suppose. It's not a great situation, and unfortunately, I mean, it was Renshiro who jumped out the window to get the down on that final attacker, but it was also Renshiro, as a result of jumping out that window, that came off of the diffuse stick and resulted in his team's failure ultimately in that round. So truly unfortunate. And another thing, yeah, there were 3 people alive for Millennium, yet at the same time, I only ever saw 2 in that engagement. The 3rd, far afield, not really doing anything, and that's not what you want to see that late in a diffuse plant. Possibly a miscommunication, maybe a misunderstanding of the situation. Regardless, something's going on with Millennium right now, and this lead for Liquid, again, continuing to extend itself.
I think miscommunication is an apt way to describe what I would feel is currently happening to that team. They just don't look like they're as well coordinated as they have been before, and I mean, you need to have that coordination against Liquid. Time and time again, against all of their opponents, we see Liquid having Nesk, usually escorted by 2 or 3 drones, maybe even Sexy Cake, sprinting into the building and just completely negating your roamers. You can't let that happen. Fnatic let it happen. They fell 2-0, and right now you've seen Nesk been able to do it on both attack and on defense, even though on defense he does typically play those more support roles. He's still been able to battle back when they try to push him on defense. It's right now something that Millennium needs to focus on. You can see on your screen there, of course, the trophies and
what these teams are here fighting for.
That's what they're here for. Liquid obviously wants their rematch against Penta from Year 2 Season 1.
Yeah, and Liquid, they're looking really good to get it right now, at least so far. We're still very early into this match, but you can tell by their demeanor, Liquid is really comfortable. They seem like they're just ready to take on anything, and that was the same thing that happened yesterday against Fnatic. I mean, Fnatic put up a heck of a fight in the first map, and it went all the way to 5-6 in Liquid's favor. And then after that, they lost their composure, and the moral game, I think, really went against them. But in this match, it's something similar, because Liquid, throughout all of that Fnatic match, were focused, determined, and poised and ready to go. As you can see, there are 3 Sexy Cakes on Team Liquid now. So obviously they're going to get the win instantly now.
When we were doing a setup, they were testing all the different ones.
Yeah.
And at one point, Evil Geniuses was like 2 Canadians, 2 NVKs, and Netrox.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I said, oh look, a lineup that can finally win a championship.
Ooh.
The crowd liked that one.
Well, they did lose in the first brackets.
We're currently just waiting on a couple issues with Liquid as they try to get some more of their members in. Just a bit of issues with 2 of those computers. So hopefully we just have about a minute or so to go.
Yeah.
But this is coincidentally basically extending that tactical pause that Millenium was given. And now they have even longer to recoup. They've basically just had all of this time to sit and talk to themselves, not to the coach. They can't talk to the coach unless it's the actual tactical pause. Actually, you know what? They probably could because it's not.
I mean, it was a
live
tactical
action.
pause that got chained into what appears to be a technical pause. So I'm sure they probably are. You know, given the circumstance, that's going to benefit Millenium quite a lot. I mean, well, technically speaking, it would, I suppose, be fine for Liquid as well. Like I said, they're very focused, and I don't think that a little bit of downtime is going to cause them to lose their composure.
You can see they're just waiting patiently. Right now, Liquid has Kitchen as their preferred site.
Yeah, and Kitchen is a bomb site we haven't seen played yet. It's actually a really interesting one. Usually what will happen on Kitchen is a lot of emphasis is placed on roaming over by the double bar area so that you can't be immediately pressured into the Kitchen site itself. Meanwhile, you'll have a mirror window facing toward delivery so that you can't have immediate access from the outside doorway. And it'll be a bit of a double setup whereby you just have to wait to see where the attackers are going to come from. Equally, though, the attackers have a multitude of options. They don't have to commit simply to one or another in terms of attacks. They can come vertically, they can come over on the double bar area, they can push in from delivery, they have really whatever they want to do. In fact, pressuring usually from a lot of different angles is the way to go, and you'll even see likely some lobby push come out from Millenium or whoever is on attack at the time.
So we're just getting in. One more member of Liquid is just waiting to connect, and then we are good to go. I mentioned it earlier, and for those that don't recall, because there has been a flurry of org changes that happened in Latin America over the last couple seasons. Liquid finished in Year 2, Season 1 in the finals against Penta 1. They obviously want their rematch. They have to take down a pretty good roster of teams. It does look like PSK is now in, so we should be able to get started in just a moment for you. If you don't have on your screen the roster lineup, you've got a Dakabi, Hibana, IQ, Blackbeard, and Twitch being run for Millenium, and there you go. The last operator will be picked. They're going to have Nesk playing Valkyrie for Liquid. You've got the Smoke right now on PSK, and they will indeed start on Kitchen, so we should be able to get into the match now for you.
So Kitchen, and already right off the bat, you're seeing a lot of vertical pressure being established. Before even the operators get upstairs, you can see PSK opening a hole above the window in the A-bomb site. They've been putting their typical reinforcements down, and it's looking like we're going to have a mirror window facing main lobby and likely a mirror window facing the B-bomb site from the A-bomb site, which means if you're going to be doing something like that, you're going to need at least a little bit of presence over on the west side of the building as a defender. However, Rise's drone all the way in the bar already, and that is likely going to be telling of a push from the west as well. So the attackers have a good plan for attacking this bomb site. It's not that uncommon of a bomb site that you'll have teams get tripped up by meeting it. And I think, in fact, on Coastline in general, you have to be used to pretty much every one of the bomb sites. Even Hookah, as you say, is the less likely one to be picked. But here you go, there's that west roam, and here comes the west push from Millenium.
And you can see they're coming in and they're trying to take as much away from them as possible in terms of map control. You've got Nesk establishing himself in the bar. He's going to be the first point of contact, though he does fall off after his phone starts to go off from that logic bomb from Dakaibi, and now Renshiro will be able to waltz right in, not contested whatsoever because there's nobody there. Of course, you've got some drones feeding intel to him. One Valkyrie camera will be spotted by Rise, who has routinely been playing that IQ, and they've managed to take control of Sunrise Bar. Now, it's deceptive because you establish control over this part of the map. It doesn't actually really give you much towards the site itself.
Well, really what it is going to allow you to do is figure out where the roamers are and contain them or kill them if possible. You also have a little bit of a line of sight into the actual bomb site. However, the way that it's being played right now by Liquid, it doesn't seem like they're going to be influenced by this presence from Millenium. So, you're right. very efficiently into that bar. However, you know, not as much as could possibly be gained half of the round in. You still have that Valkyrie of Nesk trying to challenge from the kitchen, even narrowly missing that shot. It would have been a very beneficial one had he hit it. And now they're just going to double up and continue to try and assault from this west. They are looking for other opportunities, though. You can see that we have Hicks over in security, trying to pressure from the other side. However, he's being very careful. Renshiro with a nice one-tap onto PSK. And there you go. That's his headshot percentage extending itself, as well as a very distinct advantage in this round as the smoke eliminated.
And that's a very important pick to get in early on for a smoke to go under 2. So that smoke will dissipate, of course, leaving an advantage in favor of Millenium. But as they cycle around the site, they're just trying to get into position before they can start to close in. They haven't stalled out completely yet, but they have not really done a great job of figuring out exactly where the entire roamers are, and you have to worry about that before you can begin to push the site. Nesk's going to take out Levin, as that was the Valkyrie playing inside of site down by the bomb. Yogurt's on flank watch. Rise and Zig will essentially trade off, but Nesk is gone. You can see that the Mira of Zig will now start to fight through the doorway. Takes out Renshiro after shattering his shield. Bullet is out of nowhere. Whoa, Zig! 3 for the price of 1. A C4 through the doorway. Don't stack up. What a finish. You don't even see it coming. And it's 4-0 for Liquid on Millenium's match.
And you know, even if it weren't for that C4 from Zig, you're right. The entire Millenium lineup at that point had stacked up on the doorway, and they were being simultaneously flanked by open area and from above. So there was no way they were going to recover from that round. It was just all lost at that point. Nice C4 though, and looks like Liquid are going to take Coastline in pretty amazing fashion. I don't think that Millenium are going to be able to bounce back from this. We've seen a lot of situations where it's 4-1, 4-0, just in general a distinct advantage for one team or another throughout this tournament so far, and almost every single time it's just been the conclusion whether the other team can fight back a couple rounds or not. So Millenium's going to have to change what we're used to seeing so far in the last day.
Yeah, this is not the Millenium that looked like it was looked like they showed up yesterday.
No, it's not.
The one thing that I noticed with Liquid playing Fnatic was that Fnatic, in a lot of cases, beat themselves more than Liquid was able to outplay them. There were a lot of mistakes that I saw from Liquid, right?
Agreed.
Seeing Liquid is playing better today, I think, than they did yesterday. I think they are playing better synergized. I think they, right now, you could attribute some of that to the fact that Millenium doesn't look like they're as well coordinated as they could be. But at what point do you then begin to say, well, if teams are playing poorly and beating themselves against Liquid, how much of that credit actually goes to Liquid if that trend continues? And right now, Liquid has made 2 good teams look like they were lost.
I mean, ultimately, a win is a win, and that's what Liquid is gunning for. You know, you can debate and argue whether it was because Liquid was playing well or the other teams were playing bad for all of eternity, but ultimately, again, a win is a win. So they're looking to secure that right now. They've got 2 minutes left in this round to push their way onto Double Bar, a site that Millenium have tried in the past and failed once before. Now, the last time they failed here, it was as a result of a simple push-in through this northwest balcony on the lower area and a plant under cover of smoke. And it's unlikely that Millenium will let that repeat, as you could see they're pretty stacked up on the site, and they now are much more aware of where this push is coming from, which is likely going to result in a little bit of a stall from Liquid. Though they have been very assertive and good at time management so far, I'm sure they'll be able to figure out a maneuver.
You got the mute upstairs of Rise still. That's going to be a thorn that they're going to have to pull out at some point if Liquid wants to be able to take control of the site, because you've got Rise at any opportunity can rotate. He's likely going to be playing from above, has those holes that he can shoot through the floor quite easily, as you can see all the debris. First kill is going to go to Sexy Cake onto Rise. That is the mute that needed to be dispatched, and they will do so. Now Nesk just walks right up. Oh, 2 for Nesk. We're on match point. It's a trade as Renshiro goes to Zig, and Yogurt is last alive. An unenviable position. He sees one all the way out, but Sexy Cake will finish it. A 5-0 for Liquid on Millenium's map. All right, We'll move to map 2. What a showing and what a statement from the Brazilians.
Not only was that a 5-0, but I'd say those rounds were about as quick as they possibly could have been. That was undoubtedly the fastest match that we've seen so far this tournament. It was just an absolute sweep. And I don't know if it was Millenium's nerves or the fact that they're not comfortable on Coastline, but it's got to be a combination of both. The confusing part is that's Millenium's map pick that they just lost so decisively. Now, I'm guessing that they really just didn't read into Liquid's weaknesses very well, and that's why they brought the Liquid to Coastline, but ultimately a blunder lost, and now Kafe, the second map, one that we know Liquid is going to be comfortable on.
Absolutely, and that's, if I'm Millenium, I'm obviously heading into this worried. You have to shake it off. You see that Yogurts, who is usually among the top contenders for Millenium on that scoreboard, failed to find a kill in that entire match. That's going
rough.
to hurt them. And I mean, sure, you can make contributions that necessarily aren't kills, but you need Yogurts to be able to pull his weight in terms of frags if they want to strike back against Liquid and push us to the possible third map of Border. But one thing that I think needs to be said about Liquid is they play probably the most aggressive style out of all of the 8 teams that we have here. What other team do we see literally just breaking through the entry barricade and taking over the site in 20 to 30 seconds? Liquid is doing it. It's worked sometimes. Other times, obviously, it's completely fallen apart. Fnatic was able to, repel them a couple times. But the way that Liquid plays that hyper-aggressive style, that just literally Nesk just comes right in and just starts killing things. Sexy Cake joins him as a shield on an abundance of maps. That's tough for certain teams to play against, and it's a style that we don't see a lot in EU, and it could be that maybe Millenium just isn't expecting and practiced against that style of aggressiveness.
It's also adaptable. I mean, you say Sexy Cake on a shield, and you're absolutely right. Yesterday we saw a lot of Sexy Cake shield, followed up by Nesk on Ashe, and today Sexy was playing completely other operators. I believe there was a lot of Zofia from Sexy Cake, and just in general more rifles on the team, and they were going for that extended frag potential. They didn't feel the necessity for a dedicated roam clear, and partially I'm guessing that's because they're playing on Coastline. I mean, a common trait of Coastline for every single one of the bomb sites is they're so easily accessed from the outside. You don't have to move through some bomb sites. You don't have to move through a single room before you actually get to the site, and some of them it's one room. I think every other one of them it's one room. So there's not a lot you have to really carve out of the map to actually get presence on attack here, and that's why you see Liquid make that adaptation, and that really speaks to their strengths, and I think is what gave them such a distinct edge there in that match. Now on Kafe, we're looking at a very different map. It's not quite Coastline. There isn't a multitude of options in terms of bomb sites or attacks. It's pretty much a cookie cutter map. It's the same thing every time, and it's down to teams to perfect their executions and holds and get everything, or every little thing, hold or push just right.
And Zeronic outlined usually how the defense is going to work, but one thing to give Liquid credit for, you said it's very cookie cutter, it's very rote. I would agree with that, but we've seen Liquid pull some very innovative strategies out themselves. We could potentially see them shake it up. This hyper-aggressive style, when it translates to defense, means that you're going to be peeking potentially. You're going to be running out of window, jumping out of windows. You're going to be breaking windows. You're going to be trying to distract and antagonize Millenium before they can get into the building. And as the crowd, of course, cheers towards Sexy Cake, we're going to head to a very short break as just some technical issues get sorted out. So sit tight, and we'll be back for map number 2 in just a couple minutes. Welcome back as everything is all settled and we are ready to get underway. Liquid versus Millenium. If you're just tuning in, the Brazilian team 5-0'd the largely French roster in their first map, and most importantly, it was also Millenium's map.
Yeah, it was Millenium's map pick, and it was honestly complete devastation. It seemed almost as if Millenium had never played Coastline before. They really didn't have a lot of tools in their toolbox to deny things like swift plants and isolations on double bar, or just waltzing into VIP and planting inside of Master. You know, there are solutions to these problems. Millennium's just didn't bring those solutions. For example, an Echo, just off the top of my head. Though, that's all said and done. Now, the second chance for Millenium, Kafe, will be our next map. As we load into it, it'll be Liquid starting on defense, Millenium on attack. And of course, as Kafe goes, we will be on the top floor.
So we've seen Millenium on this on this map in particular a number of times. They often end up playing it, and it's actually been their pick when we've seen it before. They played against Mocket, they won by a score of 6-5. They played it against Penta, and Penta actually prevailed by a score of 6-4, even though Millenium was sitting on match point for a brief period of time. So you know that they're comfortable on this map. You knew they were comfortable on Coastline too, but hey, look how that turned out.
I mean, the truth is, Liquid is also going to be very comfortable on Kafe. And we were thinking and hoping and imagining that it was going to be an even contest on Coastline as well. But, you know, we can only speak to what we saw, and that was that Swift 5-0. And here, you know, we have to, Millenium has to show us something completely different than what we just witnessed. Now, luckily for Millenium, they did just have a significant break to recuperate and rekindle the fire in their bellies and get this thing started. And they seem to be pushing for an East take. Now, this is uncommon to say the least, but it is certainly a viable strategy that we have seen work in the past. Now, they're going to rely a lot on Renshiro getting a couple picks here and there, and the rest of the attackers making sure that no runouts happen. As you can see, Sexy Cake is actually primed and ready, but it's unlikely he will commit to a runout, as almost every team with their Salt can cover that while they have a Blackbeard on the east windows.
And there's no Valkyrie for Liquid either, so with that default camp being shot out, it means that there's no information there to let anybody on Liquid know when they can possibly peek out. You know, you see some teams will put out one of those Valkyrie cameras outside, just say, okay, well now we run out, etc. Not going to be the case. You've got Zig lurking down on the second floor. Just as the Echo, they'll play him offsite. He's the only person on the team that has taken any damage. Mysteriously could have been potentially tased by a Twitch drone. That looks like it might be 2 shocks, but it's hard to tell. Millenium's still right now trying to drone in and figure out exactly where Liquid is. You've got Nesk on the roam, and that's Sexy Cake playing Nesk's traditional role of smoke on defense. And then you've got Zig anchoring as well. So first kill, though, is going to go to Sexy Cake. That's Renshiro finding it and being able to overpower the smoke. And now it's a huge line of sight all the way into Piano.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about earlier. Millenium are relying on that Blackbeard to get the picks and open up this defense so that inevitably and eventually they can vault in to Cocktail, get the diffuser plant, and just hold from the windows. Here comes the EE1D to force these defenders to stand still, but Bullet in the middle of it is going to get a kill onto Leven. And that's not what's supposed to happen in that situation. But that's just the advantage that Liquid's bringing to the field. Nesk will get one, but not another. Renshiro, saved by his shield, will net that frag and keep it nice and even here.
Was so close for Nesk to be able to get that second kill, and the amount of times that Nesk plays really rhythmically, he'll get one kill and then just immediately push for the second. I don't think teams are expecting that. As we said, it's unbridled aggression. Inside of the building, Yogurts will now retreat downstairs into train. We'll look to see if there's anybody playing in that area. Rise right now giving some comms to his team as he sits on white stairs. He'll wade through the barbed wire and will let his team know. He sees the Mira, and there's 2 of them. Rise will get 1. He's going to go for the second. The Echo being given away. Oh, Rise! He's inside of the site. Renshiro will join him, and it's all up to Bullet, who will need to clutch. No chance. Millenium will finally get their first round. It'll come as quickly as it can. It's the first round of Kafe. We'll go to the French.
Great job there from Millenium, and I like that Rise did not hesitate with that push. Knew that Renshiro would have his back on the windows, and knew that they just needed to push into Cocktail at that point in time. Also, that pick from Renshiro early in the round really opened things up, considering how heavy on the roam Liquid was playing. They had 2 people off of site, losing 1 on site, allowed for a much easier push in, not only from white stairs, but red stairs and those east windows. So good coordination there from Millenium. Interestingly, they are going to bring us to the middle bomb site for their first defensive round, something you don't really see every day on Kafe, although it has happened in the past.
So, Millenium will be given an opportunity to continue to add on to where they were, where their first round was. For Liquid, they're going to be bringing a ton of utility. Sexy Cake back on that all too familiar blitz, with Capitao being put in as well. Capitao is an operator who, way back in the day, used to see a ton of play here, especially at the Skylight, was replaced by Ying and then Glaz as well. When coupled with the Lion, be quite devastating. And another thing that goes unnoticed was that change to the Skylight. You could vault it. At one point, you could not vault it. If you recall, you had to hop up onto the vents and then drop through it. A simple change made you be able to vault it. Because of that, you saw a lot of smoke plants now. In this case, with the Capitao, that could potentially be enabled. Of course, that's just theoretical because the bomb site is not on that particular floor. But the point I was trying to make, essentially, is that Capitao used to see a significant amount of play here. No longer really does, but nice to see his reemergence.
Yeah, and that's going to be on Bullet. So he's looking to put some pressure over on the balcony right now. And Nesk is already in the bomb site? Yeah, Nesk is already in the bomb site. Your eyes do not deceive you. He will get a single kill before being traded back by Renshiro. Very odd positioning there, and it could have potentially worked out better had they cleared out the roamers first, but obviously so fast in the round, you don't really have time to do that. C4 will narrowly miss its target. Bullet put down onto low HP, a little bit over 25, but still no kill for the defense there.
So once again, another round where Nesk just sprints through the entire map into the site and takes it over. Of course, he was only able to get the one, or he was only able to do 1 kill onto Levin, and before he was felled by Renshiro. Of course, he got that mirror window there. That's a very powerful position for Renshiro to be in. I mean, not really much of a recourse for a Blackbeard at that point. Maybe just trying to simply outfrag Renshiro, but you don't have the advantage that Mirror does because you don't have the Black Mirror there at your disposal. And I mean, there was no follow-up from the rest of the team either. So it was essentially a suicide mission for Nesk. And unfortunately, that's not how I necessarily would have used the Blackbeard. But I mean, that's
kind of an odd choice, that's for sure.
Very strange choice, especially when you've got Bullet as the Capitao outside. You're going to hear the EE1D go, and immediately Zig is felled. So that'll be the only EE1D that you hear. Now some tapping away from Renshiro. Rise up top, cannot get a second. That is PSK sprinting in and being able to trade off his teammate. Still, they have not dislodged Renshiro, as there's just a minute left. Sexy Cake inside of the site. He is currently, shrouded in smoke, but Bullet, what a kill onto Hicks. Watching the long angle, Renshiro will be smoked out and he'll have to fall back. As you can see, another asphyxiating bolt will go, this time from Capitao. Sexy Cake will get flanked. Yogurt's there too. Yogurt's, can he go for the third? PSK will eliminate Renshiro and set us up for a 1v1. And the Hibana just trying to peek through. Can he see the Legion in time? What a clutch from PSK. The newest member of Liquid holding it together for his team. Almost accomplished it on the mirror on defense yesterday and accomplishes it on attack this time around.
So, a nice defense from Millenium, yet countered very swiftly from Team Liquid. Nesk being in the bomb site so fast only netted an even trade, and as you say, kind of an odd operator to use for such an engagement. Meanwhile, we had a simple push in through the red stairs, not even pressure from Piano down. It was no clear of the roamers. It was just Liquid using their utility, their smokes, to push into the site and get the frags as they go. So, very odd execution from Liquid, though it worked out in the end, and that's the important thing. You saw Renshiro, when he was coming back to site, or not Renshiro, pardon me, Legion, when he was coming back to bomb site, was looking for a bunch of frags, and that was just because he was one of the roamers coming back. And usually that would see a lot more success, and because Liquid had isolated the bomb site so well using their smokes, it only saw a little bit, 2 kills.
Bullet getting that frag onto the roamer that was coming back to site was crucial, because if that doesn't happen, you don't have the ability to let PSK live longer than a couple seconds. And of course, having him persevere inside of the site after he'd taken it over and got those 2 very fast kills in order to essentially take complete control of the middle section between the sites, it was tough for Millenium to have to force a retake on that, weren't successful, and just the Type 89 is a very difficult gun to outduel. High rate of fire, of course, small magazine, but plenty of DPS to go around. Millenium back on attack. They will begin their ascent to the top of Kafe. Once again, they will go up the side by the terrace. It's the eastern side of the building. They'll burn the ADS. One thing about Renshiro is he has the ability on that Blackbeard to completely take over a game. And this is a map that is going to empower a Blackbeard player to use all of the tools of a Blackbeard at their disposal, which is why I was so confused with the way that Nesk was employed, just basically to run right into the site last time around.
Yeah, and that's not going to be the case for Renshiro. He knows where his targets are, and he's waiting for an opportunity. And he's probably going to be waiting quite a long time. Zig will get Rise. Now, that's the run-out watch and the diffuser down over on the east balcony. Not a very good challenge from him. So it's going to be a little bit of a lead for Liquid already. And you could see that Zig is just showing his face over on this window, trying to distract Millenium as much as possible. And, ooh, narrow shots there from Leven. Almost an even trade.
Sexy Cake had decided to rotate towards Pixel Spot, as it's called. Leven, being up on that vent, was able to see all the way down the hallway at the top of White Stairs. Yagert's back on Repel. He'll move over to the window by Piano. There is one lying prone. That is Bullet underneath that exact window, and a drone will come in. He'll get shot by the carbine of Jaeger. He'll be frozen in place as EE1D #1 rattles through the map. There's a minute left, so they've got plenty of time to use that second one at their disposal. But right now, as you can see, a full rotate has come out. Bullet, oh, what a shot. Renshiro, no more. And that's the shield breaking, and the Blackbeard sent packing as well.
Yeah, and this does not bode well for Millenium. They not only rotated off of those east windows, but as soon as they did rotate off the east windows to try and address a different part of the building, they're not really meeting good success. Nesk will get a kill. Jagertz trades back onto Bullet, so at least a little bit going in the favor of Millenium, but at what cost? They haven't even managed to push their way into the top of Red Stairs yet.
So now they drop to Red Stairs. There's a shroud of smoke in front of them. The final EE1D from Jagertz will rain through. Hicks is just sprinting, but he'll get hit by the Yokai drone. Completely disoriented, loses the fight to PSK, and Nesk with the follow-up, and Liquid takes the lead for the first time on the map.
So that push from the attack from Millenium was pretty much the same as we saw last time they went onto the top floor at the beginning, in the first about minute of the round, coming over on the east side, trying to repel on those windows, trying to get some picks. But the things that changed were Liquid didn't give away any kills. In fact, the opposite, they managed to get some kills on that east balcony, which deterred Millenium from pushing any further and forced them to rotate over to a typical piano push. However, at that point, they had no recon and no information on a piano push, and they weren't aware that there were so many defenders staunchly entrenched in the piano itself, and they really just couldn't handle that confrontation from Liquid. As a result, it was a very simple defense for Liquid and allowed them to just, well, get another round win and get that lead finally on Kafe. And this is looking a lot more like the Liquid we saw on, I mean, I guess Liquid hasn't really stopped looking like the Liquid we saw on Coastline. They've just kept persisting. Their style and consistency in play has just been there throughout.
So, Liquid's going to bring the same tools that they had available last time on attack. It was a round that was salvaged by PSK, one that probably should have gone in Millenium's favor. Key difference is that it's going to be on a different site that they're going to have to push. So Millenium were unsuccessful on that second floor. You're a bit critical, I think, of that as the first choice. I do agree with that. So they'll head to the third floor, which is the more traditional first site. A Valkyrie camera from Hicks will spot the Lion currently droning, and you can see he's just watching it very patiently. Potentially going to go for a run out at some point, but the door is still completely intact. Jagertz will take out Zig. So there you go. There was your rush. Jagertz running out and taking out Zig as he was on drone. Pretty incredible that Liquid, who have been doing a good job of looking for Valkyrie cameras, knowing that Millenium does like to run them, and vice versa, that they weren't able to spot that one.
Yeah, that is a very common Valkyrie camera that you see pretty much everywhere. I mean, you'll even notice it a lot in ranked. So A little bit of an oversight, but these things do happen. I mean, we've seen default cams gone unshot in Pro League before, so it does happen. Looks like it's a full stack up on this skylight window to try and get a plant under cover of smoke. Nest will get the entry frag onto Levin, who is playing by Cocktail. Sexy Cake gonna get an ADS kill. You don't see that often from Sexy Cake onto Yogurt, so that's Cocktail completely defanged. Hicks, though, from the flank will get one. Bullet and Nest twice again will secure the round, and Liquid, all vaulting through the skylight, managed to get a nice swift attack victory.
I don't think anybody has stopped considering Nesk one of the best players in the world, but as I mentioned, last season he wasn't doing as much fragging as the rest of the team. Over the course of this LAN, he's been doing exceptionally well, as the rest of the team was shouldering more of the weight. This is peak Nesk right now. He is absolutely demolishing teams. Did it with Fnatic. His current target is Millenium. They're only 2 rounds away right now from being able to push Liquid into the finals for a Year 2 Season 1 rematch, or I guess we'd call that Season 4. So I like the way that they're empowering Nesk's play. As for Millenium, it's tough to give a lot of credit to some of these plays because, to me, I'm seeing a lot of confusion still. They're just unable to adapt to early pushes, expecting more, maybe more coordination, maybe a more staggered push, and Liquid is completely exploiting that.
Yeah, and I don't think that that staggered play is really working out, because that's exactly what Millenium's been really up to. I mean, especially on attack, but also equally on defense. They tend to play a very slow defense, and the funny thing is that last round, I mean, they were playing it perfectly. They were playing it correct. Holding on that top floor, really what you want to do is just hold the main lanes. Things like the skylight, things like the cigar room, like piano, and that was all going fine and well and dandy, but the problem was they weren't primed or prepped at all for a skylight drop, and obviously that's what Liquid brought. Now the interesting thing as well is that we had a C4-enabled Valkyrie downstairs who could so easily deny the defuse plant from below. I mean, did manage to deny it actually at first using her gun, but couldn't rotate fast enough to get a C4 off later and deny it a second time, or even just get a couple kills. You know, perfectly timed C4 in that situation, maybe a pre-placed one underneath the skylight drop would have been a complete tide turner in that round. But of course, as you say, and we say, hindsight 2020.
Liquid being successful up on Bar Cocktail will now also need to go down to the second floor. So the second floor plays out very interesting because in Cafe, you're almost always going to have somebody contesting up top on that third floor, really no matter what side it is. Even if you go to Kitchen Bakery, there's a good chance that there's going to be somebody playing up on that third floor, probably with an ACOG potentially to go for an early pick. Nest looking to toss one camera outside onto the roof. Goes for 2, actually. We'll see where those land when he goes onto his camera, and we can see just how far they went. Liquid's broken an abundance of windows, which is going to be Millenium having to take some pauses as they run up. This is what I said is one of the things that some teams will do with Cafe is they'll break a ton of windows while looking for a spawn peek, but right now there's nobody there.
You can see that we do have an IQ, and Levin will get the first kill of the round. Nest eliminated outside, it seems, on the east balcony. Going for a run out, I would say ill-advised, but his cameras are also going to be shot out, and even the ones on the roof likely to be found pretty quickly, given that the IQ is still with Millenium.
Rise almost exclusively running that IQ on a lot of these camera-heavy apps in order to try to take care of a Valkyrie.
Yeah, very smart play there from Millenium, and it will definitely work for them in this round. Now we have Liquid roaming pretty heavily inside of Piano, and the EE1D is going to force those roamers to stand still for but a moment. But the question is, will Renshiro attempt to challenge? And yes, he will, but he's not looking in the right corners, at least not right now. Of course, he's waiting for one of his teammates to drone out Piano for him so he knows where to look and who to contest, and that's Levin. You can see the drone already pushing in, looking to find these defenders, and will call out that there is one playing in pixel spot, but the rest of Piano is clear. So Renshiro now needs to decide if he's going to push in or go to a different window to try and challenge from that window.
Rise giving calls for his team once again. Probably one of the most active communicators on that team that we've seen thus far. It's Renshiro doing a lot of work, and goodbye Zig. Zig playing on the pulse, and the French are fighting back as now Hicks will add to it. And Millenium looking to turn the tides here as they do trail and don't want to be put in a position where they could conceivably have to fight off match point this early on. You've got just PSK and Sexy Cake left. Once again, the Mira and the Smoke, the Blackbeard above PSK, just wandering in, but the defense will be frozen in place as Lion's Gadget will hold them for 4 seconds for fear of their positions being given away.
You can see that Sexy Cake has positioned himself in an attempt to try and get an earn advantage this late in the round. Because his team is at such a disadvantage, he needs to get a kill or two, but he will narrowly miss a shot and be downed, in fact, pushed downstairs through the drop. C4 is going to be a little bit delayed, and from the side, Yogurts is going to get his second, and that's going to be a complete sweep up there from Millenium, and a good job on the execution, getting those picks early on from the roamers upstairs, and simply pushing downstairs as a team coordinatedly.
So that was coordination that Millenium is going to need to replicate over the next couple rounds, because the way that they've been playing has not been as a unit. It's looked more like 5 players all playing as individuals rather than as a team. I liked the calls that they were making there. You could see that there was a lot more drone work that was being done that was actually being successful, which is the most important part. Because a lot of times when these teams are droning, there could be some inefficiency. Maybe, you know, the phrase that we say is drone economy. Maybe your drone economy is poor if you're just letting them get killed or toss them away or not getting good coverage with them. Liquid favoring this lineup. So we can pivot towards what operators are being played. All they're subbing out is Zig off of the Lion playing with a Buck, but they're loving that Ashe, Hibana, Capitao, and Blitz combo. It worked very well on the 3rd floor. Didn't work so well on the 2nd floor. Once again, that was the round that PSK was able to basically carry for his team with the final 3 kills when he was all by himself. They're going to have to try and maybe do a little better on this site with this lineup.
Yeah, so last time we saw Liquid attack this middle floor with a similar lineup, they had a big difference was Nesk was playing on Blackbeard, and now he's switched over to Ashe. And I don't know if he's going to be doing Blackbeard things with Ashe now that he's done Ashe things with Blackbeard, but he's taking it a lot slower than the last round that we saw this attack from Liquid, that's for sure. Not already in the bomb site 2 minutes in. Or sorry, a minute in rather.
Yeah, you'd figure the Blackbeard would be the one that would take a little bit longer. It's the speedy Ashe that could find her way in, but no, he'll go to the rappel up top. A lot of teams will likely try to take Skylight and just drop from there. They'll hit the red hatch, it'll blow open, and that'll give them the ability to drop if they need to, as Nesk will now drone for his team. They immediately spot the Jaeger of Rise, who's playing over in the east side of Bar, over by Cocktail, just sitting behind one of those tables. And now you can see Liquid is going to rotate to respond. They're going to head towards that red hatch. Zig will drone for his team, as now, indeed, they're going to drop through the hatch onto the top of red stairs.
Now, Cocktail is a great position to try and contest this top floor, but the thing is, if you've got someone like Sexy Cake on the opposition team, the attackers, then you're going to be hard-pressed to deal with a shield at that range, no matter who you are. So you can see that Sexy Cake is inching his way in here, not going to take any unnecessary risks, and Rise is going to have to confront this problem at one point or another. Now, he has to kind of enter into a forward retreat in order to get out of this spot, whereby he exposes himself. Oh, what a pre-place from Hicks. Sexy Cake eliminated. That was a bait and switch. Good coordination there from Millenium and understanding of what Liquid is going to do. Nesk is looking to even things out through that C4 hole, but he's incapable so far.
What a play that was there. Rise immediately headed for the hills and the toss from below, as you've got a couple bodies from Millenium right now that are playing in reading. Oh, Zig just absolutely beheads Renshiro as he uses that skeleton key to tear up the floor and also gets the mirror window too. So that's a lot of value from just one use of that gadget. Now Zig has complete control above, and that is going to provide a lot of discomfort for the defenders, as they're going to have to worry about an operator simply tearing through their ceiling.
Yet at the same time, no shield for Liquid and only 30 seconds left for this push to come out. So they have the vertical control, but they don't have a lot of time to utilize it. And as a result, they're going to start putting their utility in the site and going for that push. Zig will get Hicks, but Levin and Yogurt's getting one for themselves. So it's going to be a little bit of an advantage here for Millenium as the last 2 attackers start to push their way down. Levin another one, and Zig pushing in sight. He is on fire right now, but he doesn't really have enough time to get 2 kills, and Levin with the pistol will finish him off with an amazing round individually.
You can see that Millenium fired up by that victory. As good of a hold as any. No real chance for Zig there. Didn't have the diffuser. Was all off on his own, and that was really more than anything. That was not the greatest of time management from Liquid towards the end there. They just stalled and that 20 seconds that it took them to refocus and begin their push off of the 3rd floor allowed Millenium to make the positioning that they essentially used to collapse on Liquid and then just simply hold off Zig when he finally did manage to get into the site and need to grab that diffuser. So this is the Millenium that we have seen. They're starting to warm up, which is good for us because it treats us to a much closer map. And of course, the gap is completely narrowed. We're all tied up at 3 apiece. Liquid on defense are upstairs now on Bar Cocktail. You're going to see a very similar lineup to what Liquid has run in the past. They're going to rely on Zig being on that Echo. The Yokai last time around wasn't necessarily used to stop a plant, but was to disorient the push that came from Millenium and then allow somebody else from Liquid, in this case it was PSK, to jump on the disoriented member of Millenium and get the frag. As for Liquid, keep an eye on Nesk playing on that Ella. Last time around, not really roaming with Ella the same way that we used to see her, instead playing a bit more steady and going for kills towards the end of the round.
Yeah, and you have to usually position your Ella perfectly to be in proximity, close proximity to your opponents. Otherwise, you're not really going to be doing much with that gun. However, yeah, no, last round, Liquid with their time management, something you don't really see very often. They are the last team you would say, oh yeah, they tend to take a long time on their assaults. They have in fact been some of the swiftest, or one of the swiftest teams at this entire event so far. I mean, the last map we just saw, the 5-0, was extremely quick, not only because of the 5-0 scoreline, but because of equally the speed at which Liquid committed to their attacks.
Yogurts has been quite quiet today as well, playing a lot of utility roles. Oh, Sexy Cake will just miss, but can he pick it up without exposing himself?
He's struggling.
To the Blackbeard. He's trying really hard. Renshiro is just going to tear through everything on those piano windows. And that Blackbeard, as we said, Renshiro is an absolute monster. You don't see Blackbeard as much as you used to, so I guess the fight over who the best Blackbeard is a much smaller, I guess, pool of talent, but Renshiro is particularly lethal with that DMR. But Bull was able to outduel him last time in a very similar spot, but Bull goes for the pre-fire. There's Renshiro has dropped long ago. He's going to get pressured as well from the second window, and very wisely, Bullet is going to drop. It'll be held in place as we're just about to hit the halfway mark. EE1D #1 will go off.
Yeah, and no follow-up from that EE1D as the piano defenders have already fallen off, and we still have, I believe, Sexy Cake holding by Bathroom, but still not a lot of presence in the piano itself, and Millenium lost their opportunity to pinch on those players and get a man advantage. They also don't have a lot of time. They're spending a lot of focus and effort on clearing out this piano one step at a time. They need to start getting the push on, and here it comes. Renshiro with the first kill of the round. Zig eliminated, and now a good amount of control starting to come in the way of the attack. Now Renshiro's just looking to try and get a lucky kill, but it's unlikely that it'll happen. You can guess that Sexy Cake will play about as safe as he possibly can on this position. Now, of course, it's important to remember this is a roam. These defenders are not even on the site. They're a little bit off to the southwest.
Playing aggressive site. One smoke, it visually looks like it's hitting Hicks as he is in the midst of it, but no, Ness will get a kill on Renshiro. So the Blackbeard gone as Zig had felled earlier, and that's huge that there will be no Yokai to worry about for Millenium. They still do have the smokes in the C4 from PSK that could potentially be used in addition to Sexy Cake smokes, as he right now is sitting with his canisters in that bathroom. He has not been moved out just yet. Rise will get hit by the Ella mine. You can see a couple marks there as the cam, the default cam, is still up, and there's only 15 seconds. And right now, there's 8 members of this game still alive. Sexy Cake waiting for a possible push off of the window. There's going to be a repel. Bullet and Sexy Cake, 2 volleys, but Sexy Cake will get shredded as Yogurts has fallen in. Hicks will need to go for the plant, and he's going to try to get it down. They will be successful as Yogurts gets 2, and that's a 2v2. Bullet and Ness will have to retake a third. Yogurts heating up. Right when you need him the most, he shows up, and it's all up to Nesk with Ella. Not the monster that we've seen before. We'll try to go for a peek. Yogurts connects, but who will win that fight? Nesk will, putting in a 1v1 with Diffuser down. He'll have to close that gap with just 1-on-1. A lot of patience. He'll get pressed from the bearing 9 of Hibana. Nesk going for the clutch. Who will outduel? Playing around. Hicks just needs to kill the time. Nesk knows it. He's going to try to find the Hibana. Oh, he misses his knife, but he won't have enough time. Will Ness be able to get it? No, he doesn't know where the diffuser is. He gives up. The hand goes up, and Millenium on to match point. That's 3 rounds in a row for the French.
What a clutch. Almost there from Nesk, but just not enough time on that defuse plant. It was a slow push from Millenium, but they had just barely enough. Planting on the 0-0-0, they could have lost it just to the clock alone, but they didn't. They managed to make it push forward. And thanks to Yogurts, really. He was the one who pushed in through those east windows, repelled onto Cocktail, and managed to fight his way to tear apart that hard anchorage. Now, Millenium are one step away from pushing this to map 3.
Border would be exciting to see. Of course, we might have overtime on the road to map 3 if that's what ends up happening. Now, important to note that the way that Sexy Cake was playing, just behind the bomb, underneath Skylight, broken all of the railings. He was playing in a position where he could have dropped at any point. He was watching the repel in from Yogurts, but because they were running out of time, Millenium also pushed from Cigar into Bar. And when they did that, Sexy Cake had to take his eye off of the window that Yogurts was going to repel through. And you saw the Lions started to do the repel swing right as Sexy Cake turned around, and just a victim of poor circumstance and timing. If that was coordinated from Millenium, it was well done, but I suspect it was more just simply desperation because you were running out of time. They needed to get Hicks in to get that plan off, and that is exactly what happened. So with Millenium on match point, they will go to defense. They'll go upstairs. Yogurts now, who was quiet last match. Last map, he had 0 kills. Well, he's making up for it. He's got 11 right now, and of course, Nesk top fragging for his team is not too much of a surprise.
Yeah, just narrowly 1 kill away from catching up to Yogurts at 10. So, we're going to have Millenium go to the defense of the top floor. Now, this is a site that can be easily defended, and I think Millenium are very happy that they get to go here in an attempt to lock this out and deny the OT. Should we get to overtime, which is very possible given Liquid's track record. They were successful, I believe, the last time attacked this top floor, thanks to some great positioning of smokes and a very simple plant using a good coordinated push from the Skylight. Should Liquid get this to overtime, I think a lot of this is going to come down to who gets what first. And that's very typical with Kafe being determined on the dice roll. And it happens, you know, that's just kind of how overtime functions.
So Sexy Cake repelling up to the top, and I do agree with you. Absolutely. I think that this is going to come down to lead-off frag, and I think that momentum is going to carry forward.
Yep.
We'll see if the French are going to be able to extend this to a 3rd map. How strange it is that the Liquid that 5-0'd Millenium on Millenium's map are now having to fight for their lives on their own map. Now, as I touched upon, we've seen Millenium play Kafe, I think 2 or 3 times this season in EU against other European opponents. So it's not like they are by any means strangers to the way that this map plays. Of course, that infamous moment where, you know, Hicks tried to sneak up the stairs as the Valkyrie happened on this map and waited to hold off on killing the Lion and ended up getting killed himself.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen again for Hicks' sake, but it doesn't look like it's likely given that Liquid are yet again stacking up on this roof. They have, I believe, all 5 players right now on the roof waiting for an opportunity, waiting for their push in, and they're spending a lot of time just looking into the building, going for recon, and it could work out for them. It did last time, so we'll see in this push as it comes out. The smokes and utility.
Candelas, there's going to be Toxic Babes at the bottom. A C4 from Hicks. Millenium counter-punching. 2 swift blows. Zig will refrag 1, but Yogurt's poised and ready. Sexy Cake will have to retreat. He's down there by himself. Right now, he's just being pinned in the corner. They'll down him. This is all but over. Millenium should have no problem to clutch this out. It's just Bullet and Zig left, and just under a minute to go. And Yogurt's going for another. He's absolutely on fire. Oh my. Zig is last one left. He'll use an EE1D, act of desperation, and he's taking some damage from that goo mine. He'll get hit by another, but there is no chance. Renshiro seals the deal. And hey, we have a map number 3. Because why not? So far, only 1-2-0 in the playoffs, and it lands so far. It was yesterday. We won't be seeing another. Maybe in the grand finals.
Possibly in the grand finals, however, I find it extremely unlikely. And that was a great fight back there from Millenium. Definitely something you want to see after a 5-0 devastating defeat on Coastline. Now they're going to get one more chance as they go over to the 3rd map, Border. and try and fight their way into those finals.
So with 14 frags, Jagert's getting not just important that he's top fragging on his team, but a lot of those were high impact frags. He was able to carry a couple rounds in particular, where he almost managed to do it a second time if it wasn't for the fact that he ran into Nesk. And now when we head to Border, what are we looking at between these teams? Because you said Kafe very different from Coastline. What are we expecting for Border?
In a way, we're looking at two maps that are very similar, two maps from Kafe and Coastline that are kind of combining to create Border. I mean, it's a very dynamic map. You have Kafe, the ultimate just linear, same thing every time. Coastline, kind of loose almost to an extent, where you can strategically do very many things, but you are also kind of on the you're kind of the victim of potentially it being too dynamic. And then Border is, I think, right down the middle. You've got a good mix between the two pools to pull from. However, if I'm looking at this series and I'm looking at it objectively, I'm seeing a 5-0 regardless of any circumstance, regardless of the type of map, regardless of the type of team. And whereas where Millenium got their victory, it was much closer at 5-3. So Liquid didn't fall asleep on Kafe. That's not how they got the win, and that's probably going to be telling of what happens in this third map.
So a hard-fought victory will draw both of these teams even at one apiece. We're going to head to our friends over on the analyst desk, and they can dissect what we just saw over those two maps and tell us a little more about what to anticipate on Border.
Thanks, friends. Let's dissect that. Let's sharpen our knives and cut up a 5-0. You don't get them often. We had a few in the seasons that brought us to these finals. We do sometimes get them at finals, but we don't often like to see them.
I don't think it was just map gone wrong. I mean, they played it yesterday against FaZe, so it wasn't surprising that all of their strats that they used yesterday were completely read out by Liquid. They tried switching it up and going blue bar, red bar, and testing everything out, but unfortunately that's the hardest side in my opinion to play. And then also it just looked like they were also getting beat on it. Like, it was just unlucky for them. They got 3-person C4'd one round. It kind of looked like they were forcing to try and make something happen.
I think when it comes to a 5-0, sometimes we see a 5-0 and the score doesn't really reflect what happened, because
very much.
Everything can come down to 5-1v1s. That doesn't mean that you destroyed the other team or that the 5-0 has the same value as it otherwise would. This is not one of those 5-0s. They did not have a chance. Nesk kept walking in, just getting like 2 or 3 kills, pushing directly into sight. The way they just cleared a tunnel so he had some room to work with. He goes in, does his kitchen hallway attack, 6 waiting on the outside of the window. As soon as Nesk meets just something to shoot at, 6 jumps in. Doesn't matter if 6 dies or not, because they turn around to shoot at him. And Nesk kept doing that the whole thing. Millenium setup were fine, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't do anything bad in their setup. They just didn't win any gunfights.
Yeah, and they didn't do anything completely out of the ordinary and nothing super different.
So they didn't win any of their gunfights on the first map, so how do they start winning them on the second?
Well, the second map, there was, Kafe's a new map that they just are bringing out in this event. But at the same time, it's difficult to say. It just looked like Liquid. Also, they were kind of playing the same level, just having a good Blackbeard like Renshiro, and then Latin America teams, they have good Blackbeards, but they're not known for it. Renshiro is known for being nuts on Blackbeard, so the fact that they could just put him on the piano window, on White Stairs window, anywhere, and he just gets everyone out of there, it was hard to contest him. Bullet put up a good fight against them some rounds, but can't fight a face shield.
I think a lot of the stuff that helped Millenium on Kafe is that, as we were talking about, there isn't too many new things to do on Kafe, and we really didn't see new stuff from Liquid on it. The mirror window placement's kind of the same as we always see. Rotation holes are close to what we always see. So not having that many options or that much new stuff to fight, they know what's going to happen. It's predictable. And you don't have these hallways where you can just push in. Like, Coastline is more open, more, I don't know what to call it. It's easier to navigate if you're doing it just to entry frag. Whereas Kafe, there's only 3 places you can really enter the top floor from. I think that had a lot to say with Millenium, because they kind of just pulled through. It wasn't, they didn't destroy Liquid on that map.
No.
They just won it.
And Liquid was playing very aggressive on Kafe, especially in the Christmas room, piano room. And that's something that you don't particularly see in other regions. It worked out for them, but it's double-edged sword. I've said that way too many times today, but it
Double
hurts
trouble
them.
sword.
Yeah, so sometimes it'll hurt them, sometimes it helps.
So who gets it? I don't ask you for predictions often, but go on. Like you said, Millennium got that map back, but not comfortably.
No, they struggle to get Caf. It has to be, that 5-0 has to be in their mind going into the next map. I think they're more afraid. And as Liquid guy said yesterday, right?
Yeah,
just
Zig,
playing to have fun.
Yeah, Zig in an interview yesterday after their quarterfinal. We were in a bad place. We just stopped where we were and what was happening then, and now, and it sounds crazy, all right, here in a sold-out Atlantic City at the Pro League Finals, we're just here to have fun.
And look at them when they play. They smile. When they get the 5-0, the coach is behind them going, calm down, guys. It's just 4 rounds. We still need 1.
Yeah.
They're enjoying themselves.
We saw Silent making some hand gestures because they can't speak to each other during the game. But
that's the coaching rules.
Yeah, even though they're having fun, I still think at this point, I think they're going to try and pull out everything they can just to get into the finals and
as you should
have a shot.
Right?
Yeah,
of
course.
Victory is getting real close for them now, right?
Yeah. You've got to hold some stuff back. I mean, well, it's different approaches, isn't it? Some teams believe in holding something back, so you've got surprises for the final. Other teams believe in, if we reach the final, that's a result for us. That's what we wanted. So maybe you get it all out there to get yourselves in. One of them is getting there. One of them is going out in the semi-finals. Millennium and Liquid, the winner of this, remember, plays Penta Sports very soon today to be crowned our champion. Kicks an Intero with Liquid and Millennium.
So we'll head to map number 3, Border. The analyst doing a great job of breaking down exactly what we've seen over the last 2 maps. The sloppy play of Millennium getting washed away on Kafe Dostoyevsky. They look fired up. Yogurts has come alive. The whole team just looks better as a whole. I'm interested to see how this translates to Border. Both teams should be very confident on it. We've seen Millennium play Border in the past as well, as we're going to get ready to slow it in just a moment. Liquid will, of course, be starting on defense by virtue of a coin flip. So we'll get started as the teams load themselves in, and oh my, we need a 3rd map yet again, Michael.
Yeah, pretty typical, I suppose, at the finals, given that you've got the rawest top talent in all of the different regions coming to clash against each other. And, you said that it's going to be a map that both teams will probably be comfortable on. I mean, to be fair, we're talking about Border, probably one of the most commonly played maps in all of Rainbow Six, especially at this level. So definitely going to be an even contest, that's for sure. Liquid going to go to that top floor, as is pretty usual on Border. You don't really see a lot of variance here. Sometimes you will. I believe it was Penta who brought us to ventilation first a while back, but it's just to try and trip people up, and you don't honestly need that, especially in a best of 3 when you're talking about the decider map. You want to go with what you know, and Liquid's doing just that here. They have brought a pulse as well, which means they're likely to have some roamers downstairs. Now those downstairs roamers are going to be essential on trying to C4 from below to get some kills or deny a plant, and that's going to put onto the opponent team, Millennium, the attackers, to clear out the bottom floor before they push upstairs, or to just have enough warm bodies to recover after a C4 takes out a potential defuse planter.
So one of the things that we can say about both Kafe, and now we can turn around and say about Border, is that Millennium has no shortage of footage from this season. Millennium beat Penta on this map previously. They beat Mocket on this map previously. So if I'm Millennium, I would be very happy with everything we saw in the ban phase. It really shouldn't surprise me if Millennium is able to simply overpower Liquid here, but for Liquid, there's always that sense of unpredictability for the way that Liquid plays, and that aggressiveness honestly sort of fell off midway through Kafe. It looked like Millennium finally understood how to adapt to how quick Liquid's pushes were, and to be able to swing the pendulum back as just the drone and the diffuser juggled by Hicks for just a second there. Basically to swing that pendulum back in favor of the French.
Yeah, and hopefully for Millennium's sake, they're going to be able to maintain that throughout this map, because if they have to recover and figure out how it is that Liquid's playing yet again, then they aren't going to get very far here on Border, as they don't have any other maps to follow this one up. So it looks like a partially successful attempt at denying those Habanas. They will get 4 of the 6 set. thanks to one well-placed Bandit battery, but from below, the Bandit has been denied for any potential future tricking.
And very quickly, they will reset Nesk. So you basically get that armory wall for free. You can see like the lattice style of wall that has been set up by Liquid in towards CCTV as still there, allowing for Liquid to get extra control without having to give up any of the actual real estate themselves. Something that we touched on yesterday in the broadcast was that by opening up that wall, if you're playing on the mirror window, you can see all the way in without having to put any bodies on it. Zig right now downstairs, just looking for any intel he can get. And first kill is going to go to Bullet. That's the Jaeger, takes out the Ash.
So you can see Millenium is aware that they need to clear out that bottom floor, and they were seemingly starting that endeavor, but at the same time, they didn't take into account Bullet, who was far afield, and that grenade, very well placed from Rise, will actually get a down, but it won't finish off. The second one will, though, and that's one very important anchor on that mirror window disabled. There is still a player in bunker, though. That's Sexy Cake, and he's trying to fight this push as much as he can, but Rise will get another kill. Nesk elsewhere has gotten a double, though, for his team, so all of Rise's work really unfurled. And with only 13 seconds, it's going to be reliant on these flashbangs to give enough disruption to give Hicks an easy push into the site. It's just not going to happen. That's the third now for Nesk. And from behind, a fourth enabled by Rise, thanks to some unfortunate misses from him. And Nesk, with what a little bit of HP left, will get that 4K.
What a showing from Liquid and a statement to start things off. They will win round number 1. You can see there on your screen the wonderful trophies that are awaiting the victor. I feel like Penta has enough of those. What do you think?
No, I would concur. They've definitely got enough, but I don't think that's going to deter them from getting another.
And of course, like we said, Liquid wanting that rematch. Millenium will go to defense, and they're going to buck the trend of going upstairs. They'll head down to ventilation and workshop on the first floor. So you mentioned that usually Armory and Archives up top is the default place to start, and Millenium probably gambling on the fact that if they win this, then they can go up to Armory next. It is, like I said, a gamble, so there's no certainty that they will be successful, and it could end up being a wasted round for them. They'd find themselves down 2-0 at that point. That's not good to just give a round away for free, but I would imagine with the setup that we see, you're going to probably feel very confident in defending that second floor anyway on border.
Yeah, no matter where you're going, whether it's the ventilation workshop or Armory Archives, you really don't have to worry too much. I think, honestly, the two sites are very similar in the way that they tend to play out, and I'm sure there's not a whole lot of variance in terms of win rate on the two bomb sites. Obviously, Armory's going to have a little bit of an advantage, but all the same, the comfort is still present and accounted for no matter where you are. So, a vertical play going to be established here from Millenium as per usual. They will be roaming up in Armory using Ranchero on that Valkyrie to open up those holes. It's a good use of the secondary weapon, and it saves a lot of time as well if you don't have a lot of players who have shotguns or impacts, so you can get all the control you need. Now, this is some well-placed Valkyrie cameras, and it doesn't look like, well, of course, Liquid does not have an IQ, so they won't be able to spot out the cameras with ease, though might be able to spot it later on with the naked eye. However, the information it's gathering right now is still going to benefit Millenium a lot. Armory left abandoned, in fact, by Millenium. Kind of interesting there. They opened up prep holes to try and deny pressure vertically, but they are just going to, well, leave immediately after.
Now that's a very early follow-off. Jagertz will run outside. He's going to possibly go for a kill. He's not going to get it. Bullet is there, prepared with the SMG-12. He'll tear through Jagertz. That's a Legion getting particularly aggressive. Now they have that Valkyrie camera, and just were, I guess, expecting somebody to be watching it. I don't know if Jagertz went into that blind, but the fact that Bullet was prepared for it and looking in that direction could have possibly been a bad call for Millenium. At the moment, though, Bullet, speaking of, is sitting at the main doorway into border, and there's a castle barricade in his direction. Because of the kit that Dokkaebi has, we'll rely on a teammate to help take care of that. Oh, what a shot from Hicks. The audience will clap for that one. Bullet loses his head, and it's all tied up. There's still a half of the round to go, just a little under, as Zig takes control from above, and we'll start doing some remodeling.
Yeah, he's just going to look for any sort of dominance he can get, and it looks like we might see a B site push. They are going to have to deal with Hicks, though, before they commit to that. And we even have Sexy Cake all the way over on the far south side of the building, repelled. So Liquid right now are confused as to what they really want to do and are just looking for options. Levin is going to be trying to stop Sexy Cake as he pushes over to the east side. And as an EE1D starts up, he's just actually going to move upstairs, which is something Liquid already have full control over. It's a B bomb site push, though, followed up by the smokes and the fire arrows. PSK already in, trying to go for that plant. The Legion Trap did delay for a long time, though. Neski's going to get a kill on Hicks as he attempts to rotate. Sexy will get one for himself as well on that rotation. And on top of server stack, it's not even the player up on server, it's Nesk, in fact, who will get that kill on the anchor. Last player, Levin, will get one. He's got to find 3 more, though, and he's been detected by the EE1D. He's probably going to be dispatched in but a second. There it is. Liquid take yet another round, and we see them push it to a 2-0.
Zig swapping off to the underbarrel shotgun, which doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but can be particularly lethal to any operator that has a very low health, and at that point, Levin didn't really have too much left for anything to really contend with. So Liquid taking the first 2 rounds, and I like the way that Millenium was set up there. I hesitate to give any congratulations to them based on that call from Yogurt, so I think that was a lot of wasted utility. That Legion Mine, as you pointed out, did a great job of stalling Liquid's plant as PSK had to pull the needle out of his foot, but you could have continuously been producing those Legion Mines over and over and over again, giving your team the intel. And once again, Nesk off to an early start. You saw that he was instrumental in that last push. He got 3 kills. Of course, his utility also worked well at isolating the defenders from the bomb site that PSK was in. You heard the asphyxiating bolts were used from above through those holes that Buck had created in the floor of Armory.
Yeah, I would say that the Capitao play coming out from Liquid is some of the best we've seen in a good long time, and I really do have to give them props for it. Capitao is an instrumental operator if you use him right, and he is also at the same time situational, yet can be used in any situation. And I know that's a little bit confusing, but it's really just up to you as a team to try and make his utility, well, be useful. So we are going to have Millenium now put onto attack of Ventilation. Now, this is a site they have not attacked yet, if I recall correctly, as the first defensive site that Liquid went to was, in fact, Armory. And because this is an abnormal site, something we haven't seen yet from these 2 teams in this orientation, we might see a different result. This might be the moment Millenium needs to start and fight back.
So some just sight holes that are being created to increase the sight lines, as that was Zig from below using that pocket shotgun. A bit of a daring move from Sexy Cake there, surveying whether there's going to be somebody up on vents just outside of the main window. That's where Yogurts is. He had a great second map, carried his team to victory with 14 frags. It's going to be very important that he's able to find the scoreboard this time around, because so far, at least in these 2 games, the way that Yogurts goes is very indicative of the success of the team. Lots of drone work going in through Fountain, and you can see Rise will sledge away at that soft wall just on the east balcony that leads in towards offices. Renshiro lobbing an EMP grenade through to possibly take care of any electronics on the other side.
Yeah, while you can say the same thing about Yogurt, or while you can say that about Yogurt, you can say equally the same thing about Nesk. As a player, he has been stepping up for his team at this finals throughout every one of their matches, and it's reliant on him, really, to get the frags that are necessary to get these wins under their belt. Now, he's going to be holding up in Armory. Now, this is Ventilation and Workshop defense right now, so technically speaking, he's just trying to keep or hold and maintain that vertical game that is oh so important, and he's done a pretty good job of it so far. He and his teammates, that is. 1 minute left, and Millenium have not been able to make a dent in this top floor. They're attempting to do so now, though, with this grenade from Rise. Could easily get the down onto Bullet if he doesn't have an ADS, and it looks like it's been Thatchered already, so that is the case. But the grenades will miss, and Bullet maintains his position. Zig, meanwhile, will get a C4, and on this push, Renshiro's missing a lot of shots, but finally hits the one that counts. Nesk, though, has rotated wisely to that hallway and will refrag. Now all Liquid really needs to do is fall back to the site, but Hicks checking the top of East Stairs. What a headshot. And as the EE1D pops, we are going to have likely a follow-up into that site push.
Yogurts right now in vents, has control of one of the sites, but the diffuser is currently on Hicks, who is now pushing up himself. Oh no, Zig looking the wrong way. Yogurt's a very easy kill, and that will put Liquid at a deficit now as they are down by 2. He sees the smoke and he outduels PSK. Yogurt's on fire. Sexy Cake from above will take out Leven, and they're going to need to plant. Hicks will start to get it down, and the EE1D will prevent Sexy Cake from rotating, but he will move. He's getting pinged. Right now, Yogurts will have to continue moving. Sexy Cake will have to get back to the site as the defuse is successful. It's down, and now you can see Millenium is just going to get at a dodge. It's going to rely on Sexy Cake having to deal with 2 members of Millenium playing far and away and fighting in a crossfire right now. A couple shots for Sexy Cake. I don't think he knows what site it's in, trying to determine where they are. He's going to get tagged through the main door, and Hicks is there to engage him. We got a couple shots, and that's routine. Millenium will get on the board. Hicks taking Sexy Cake out, and there's signs of life in Millenium. Still 2-1 in favor of Liquid. They were just really good at being able to take out that off-site support for Liquid and then just push the site, and Zig was caught looking the wrong way, and that was really it. Not enough support on the site for Liquid, and Millenium took advantage of that.
Yeah, the interesting thing there was that Millenium never actually got full vertical control. They spent a lot of time skirting around that vertical presence upstairs from Liquid, and eventually did manage to kill those players, but they lost a lot in the process, and not only manpower, but also time. Then, once they came off trying to clear that top floor, and they just focused on pushing into the site, everything started to go right for them. The kill at the top of East Stairs from Hicks, that was one of the roamers starting to fall back, and that was a good read there from Hicks. And then also you had just a nice rotation over to the B bomb site, something that at the time Liquid was not paying any attention to, as they were expecting, given Hicks' position on the east, a push in through into the workshop, which is just not what happened. So good fake out there from Millenium, resulting in their win, and now they're finally on the board. Millenium are going to get to defend that armory yet again, to try and keep this in their favor, or well, push it further in their favor.
And showing off for just a second, the viewers at home, that new Valkyrie Elite skin. Of course, her cameras are a different
Harder
skin
to
themselves.
see.
Oh, they're a little harder.
Significantly harder to see.
They're definitely harder to see.
Yeah, without question.
I mean,
They blend into so many more things now.
very,
Anyway,
very similar to the Twitch drone on
Yeah.
the Elite skin, how it is
basically
also
the same as that, yeah.
hard to see. So, for Liquid, they are going to look to bounce back. They're going to start by droning out East Stairs and trying to establish some map control as they have to deal with attacking up top. Zig has already been able to take control completely of that staff area, and now he's going to look to CCTV, which is completely vacated. There's nobody that is playing in there at the moment for Millenium, so they're going to be able to take control of that. However, if Millenium has that same Mira setup with the wall opened yet again, they can at least keep a line of sight into the area. And nope, the wall is completely solidified on the right-hand side of your screen just by the CCTV. So there you have the 2 setups. Playing in Fountain, exactly where Rises is where you're going to find most of your Jaegers playing. Maybe a Bandit playing in there, maybe a Mute. It really depends on what operators you have on the board. So for Millenium, they're going to have no control over CCTV. They've already lost as well East. And the first kill, though, will go to Renshiro, so Zig is not going to be too long in this round at all. Just over a minute, and the buck is gone. That is crucial. It looked like he was potentially trying to put some pressure on Renshiro from below. You can see some holes there, means that he was successful, but Zig gone.
So there are no roamers downstairs, but at the same time, a presence downstairs thanks to these holes that have been opened up by Millenium in that prep phase. Now, Liquid are just scouting right now, looking for, I guess, the most opportune moment to push in, and they don't really seem to know exactly what they want to do. The EE1D will go off and detect a few of the Millenium players, but no result followed up from it other than Renshiro getting his 2nd kill onto Nest. Now, Liquid are now committed to pushing into this A wall, but they have a mirror window they're going to have to confront as they do this. Though from below, Bullet has managed to inch his way in and gets a kill for himself. Sexy gets one as well, so it's evened out, 3-3. It seemed like it was a fully fledged win for Millenium on that 5 versus 3. Liquid having very little in their way, but now this could go either way.
And they were in very good control. You're going to see that smoke get tossed out, and that's going to stop them from being able to freely push in through the hole that has been opened up by the exothermic charge of PSK. Yogurt still will be a huge opponent for Liquid to have to take care of. They're going to hit an E1D, and playing that Mira will be completely spotted, trying to play around it. Sees the Thermite, cannot land his shots, will manage to get him just in time. Jagrtz will get smoked out though, and they're going to run right in. But here's Hicks with the shotgun. Oh no, Hicks misses! But Sexy Cake's knife doesn't, and Liquid answers back, but Liven with 2 from the C4. Boom, boom, and you can see we're all tied up at 2 apiece.
What a C4 to salvage the round there from Leven, and if it weren't for that, that could have been a completely different result. Liquid were very aggressive on their push through that A wall, and the 2 kills that they managed to get earlier in the round to even things out were telling of a potential comeback. However, they did spend a lot of time doing almost nothing really, just scouting out the area, figuring out what control they had. And the interesting thing about that is that Millenium forfeited all control. They didn't have any roamers downstairs. They didn't have anyone in CCTV, no one playing in offices. It was just Fountain, Armory, and Archives. These 3 rooms housed all of the defenders. Yet at the same time, Liquid took about 2 minutes figuring that out before they started their push. That is not the Liquid that has been playing throughout this entire tournament, and I find it incredibly odd that they are spending so much time just droning.
Where is that brashness? Is it just the fact that Millenium has been consistently shutting it down, so they're trying to make an adaptation mid-game? Because that's what it looks to be for me.
I don't think it's a lack of brashness. I think it's the efficiency that Liquid has been showing us throughout the tournament so far. Because they have been, in the past, very efficient at droning and following up those drones with actual hard roam clear, and that has just evaporated, seemingly, so far on this map. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're winning rounds based on their fundamentals and gunplay, but a lot of the teamwork that we were seeing, especially yesterday from Liquid, is not currently present. So they're going to need to start bringing that back, like Millenium has started to bring back what we recognize from them in matches prior.
So Jagrtz posted up on the vents. He will go onto his Twitch drone to try and find a couple prize targets. The Yokai would be a good candidate for that, or even the mural windows, which are always the most important thing to take care of with that Twitch drone. Rise does look like he may have hit the wall there, even though graphically it does not appear that he did. We'll have to go back and see. Right now, Zig is playing inside of offices. He's got 1 reinforcement to his left, which means that there is no way, unless they rush into the site in order to pressure him successfully, possibly hop in that window, or, as teams have done in the past, possibly drop a frag grenade down from above. Great drone work right now from Millenium, as Leven is going to get droned for his team. He's going to use a breaching charge, then he's just going to get out of there. He's not going to go for the kill.
Rise is in a very, very tricky spot because he's got that hallway control, but he could be contested from, well, yeah, the hallway. He gets it down onto the Valkyrie and follows it up with a nade to secure the kill, and it misses. That's interesting. Zig will be alive in the office sandwich, and this is a position that is very good to utilize, but the fact that Millenium doesn't know that the Valkyrie is down means that they aren't going to be able to aggress as quickly as they want to. The second nade might be just used on Fountain to try and get the Jaeger, and it will be successful. Bullet eliminated. What a job there from Rise, single-handedly clearing out this office.
They finally find Zig with just a minute to go. Rise is going to get very aggressive. He's going to try to take care of one, but no, Nesk will outduel him, pulls out the pistol. PSK takes one down, but Leven finishing off Nesk will put us at a 3v2. Millenium right now in the driver's seat, but still a Mira as well as an Echo existing for Liquid. I like where Millenium is right now. They are very quickly encroaching on this site. They have an abundance of time, but they need to make sure that their push onto B is successful. That's exactly where they're going to go. The Hibana X Karos doesn't do the best job getting a crouch hole in, so they're going to need to at some point manually go in. You saw the Yokai drone go up, but oh, Sexy Cake pops up and takes Hicks out. It's now 2v2. The Yokai drone is in sight, so all they need to do is wait it out. It's a 7-second defuse time, so they need to make sure that Sexy Cake is living. The head is spotted for just a second. Renshiro can't connect. A C4 goes in. Liven's going to jump in, but PSK shreds through him, and a round that Liquid should have lost. They win. Millenium lets it slip through their fingers. What a hold from the Brazilians. Great play from both of those anchors.
And that, if I'm not mistaken, is the lead retaken by Liquid, where they let 2 rounds slip away to Millenium. They are going to start their march towards that victory yet again. And it was a pretty good defense of the Armory Archives. However, I have to say, I think that you're right. I think that is a round that Millenium should have won, thanks to Rise's amazing play over by Office. Again, single-handedly taking apart that defense one part at a time. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm just going to cut myself up there, and we're going to look at this round, where we have a Teller's bathroom defense from Millenium. Very interesting.
So I'm going to go back. I'm going to see, because we have this information available to us.
Yeah. Last time.
If Millenium has played on this site previously, obviously their French comrades in Vitality had. They beat Ents on every single site when they played. Rest in peace for Ents.
So while you take a look, I'm going to go over how this bomb site usually plays out. Typical way of defending the Tellers and Archives is from above, and it came into being played after Customs, and Customs is played very similarly. If you want to hold Customs, you need to hold it from above in CCTV. Thank you, Marcy. But the offices and archives were considered for a long time to be less defensible. However, there are some setups, like this one you see Millenium establishing right now, that are considered by some teams, in fact many teams, to be actually completely viable. And that is what Millenium is trying to lean on right now. The question is, will Liquid be ready for it? I personally believe they will.
So, in case you're curious, Millenium has gone to this site twice before. It was in their matchup against Penta. The first time they were successful. I have it listed as a round that they shouldn't have won. And if I remember correctly, it's because they left one Millenium player up top just watching over as Penta pushed and couldn't get the roamer in time. And because of that, Millenium was able to win a round that statistically they probably should have lost. The second time they went to the site, they lost to Penta, and it was a definitive win in favor of Penta. So it has been trialed before. The only question is Liquid going to be prepared for it, as you said?
Yeah, because the truth of this bomb site is, while it's interesting and there is definitely a logic behind it, it is also incredibly counterable if you know what you're doing. And Liquid, I'm sure, have played against this bomb site many a time before. So, their first step is going to be pushing into Customs, and Nesk is well aware of those drop downs above him and worried as well. As you can see, he's just looking to see if he gets peeked on by Hicks, who is playing in that CCTV area. There's already half of a round transpired so far here, and Liquid haven't really gotten much done with it.
So Nesk still just holding an angle, just waiting, holding multiple angles rather. You can see just for a second the feeder spotted. Nesk will get that leadoff kill. Hicks is no more. So say goodbye to your castle, who is playing up top. Utility is already down. The UMP, not the best gun that you need in this particular situation. Though it did appear that Renshiro was getting very, very aggressive onto Nesk, and EE1D will freeze everybody on the spot. One's position will be given away, and they know that there is another body upstairs. And Zig using those smoke grenades to actually get rid of the potential drop, so you can't use those hatches to your advantage. Renshiro's taken some damage. He'll contend just by the bomb in bathroom as Zig starts, or Sexy Cake rather, starts to hit away at the castle barricade. But it was a bait, and it's two. Leven comes out of nowhere, takes out Sexy Cake. Yogurts adds to that one, and it's all Bullet and Nesk left in a 4v2 favoring Millenium. Leven's going to go for number 3, but he can't outduel Nesk. That is something that you'll hear on multiple occasions, and Bullet taking out Yogurts means that we are back to 2v2. Rise playing from above. He's staring intently at that diffuser with just 20 seconds to go. It'll need to be retrieved, and it will, but Rise, what a kill on the Bullet. It's going to leave just Nesk to do the rest of the heavy lifting. Renshiro will go for a shot through the wall. Nesk in a lot of trouble here. Won't have enough time to get the diffuser and vault in. Might have to play for kills at this point, but it's Renshiro ensuring that there is no match point for Liquid. We are once again tied up at 3-3. What a hold from Millenium. Very impressed with the way they played that. For a second there, it looked like Liquid was going to be able to outfox them, but Millenium, preparing for the push, rearranged their team so that they could counter the rush in through Tellers downstairs.
And I think a lot of that comes down to Liquid being a little bit unsure where they're pushing from, and I feel like I've been saying that a lot, because it looks like that's what is now hindering Liquid. So they had, for example, Nesk push into Customs, and he got a beautiful kill onto Hicks from Customs all the way up into CCTV, disabling the deep flank and deep roam. which would have opened up a lot of opportunity for them to simply push in horizontally into the bomb site. Get the one player inside of that bathroom through the unreinforced bathroom wall, because, you know, you're playing Ash, and then plant the diffuser. You know, the likelihood of the vertical pressure can be completely negated by what I thought they were trying to do with those Capitao smoke bolts, but they went too far with it, and they didn't commit to an attempted plant. They didn't use the vertical pressure denial to actually go for the plant. They instead tried to rotate to contest those players upstairs, and that, again, they didn't have much time doing that. Ultimately, they just were unsure what they were trying to get themselves into, and it all just fell apart for Liquid. It would have been really awesome to see them just commit to a plant and, you know, win the round based off that.
But once again, the same thing that happened with Penta was that one member of Millenium was allowed to exist up top for far longer than they needed, and that was ultimately their own undoing. So the inability to pinch the roamers, or rather, you can't even really call that a roamer.
They're the anchors.
It's an anchor that's just playing on a different site. Sexy Cake is going to exchange some words with Yogurts. Sexy Cake will get away without losing any health. Yogurts down, and Nest will get a kill, and that is Liquid with the opening salvo. 45 seconds into the round, they have a numbers advantage of 1, and most importantly, maybe not as much of a high priority pick previously due to the nerfs, but that's a Lion that is not going to be available for Millenium, as well as Yogurts, who, after a first map that might be a bit disappointing, has played so much better.
I would say the combination of the two factors results in that being probably the best possible kill they could have gotten just now. So the reason the Twitch drone's not already shooting the mirror window is because he was potentially waiting for a teammate to be in a position to shoot the player on the other side of it, but that's not going to happen anymore, and the mirror window will still be opened up, as Levin is just a little bit worried that the drone would have been shot. Now, Millenium pushing their way over towards the bathroom tellers area. You know, you can see, and we do have PSK waiting for a push.
And there was PSK just an inch away at that barbed wire, knows that there's somebody posted up nearby. That can, of course, be relayed to your team. Nesk is going to need to be taken out in order for Millenium to make anything happen. Right now, that bandit is lurking deep inside of security or CCTV, and he's also in a position where he can possibly strike back when Millenium goes to make their concerted push onto the site, and that's exactly what happens. There is one on flank watch right now for Nesk. They're just simply waiting. Nesk will go for a rotate. PSK is done. Renshiro manages to take out the smoke. That was the smoke playing in the bathroom. Nesk tries to go for a corner peek. He'll win his fight against Levin, and that is Nesk with yet another kill on this round, as we have come to say so many times. An EMP from Renshiro will sail through the Hibana hole into the site. The back of Workshop dims the electronics, dims the lights, and takes out all electronics, as now Millenium will work their way into the bathroom.
Now, there's only 30 seconds left here for Millenium, and they're going to lose another one to Bullet. And on their ingress, Nesk, another one for himself. And as you say, the kills are rolling in for Liquid as Zig gets the final one, and they will put it on to match point 3-4. So Millenium still inches away from overtime, but also if they lose this next round, it's all over.
So they are just one potential round away from meeting Penta yet again. The crowd has been a bit subdued over the last couple rounds, just intently watching, so any given opportunity for them to cheer for their respective teams. I know that Milos, I believe he's now called Milos the Maestro, if you saw the picture on social media this morning, is trying to get the crowd intently into it to cheer up Rogue as they were losing to Penta. It worked. Rogue started to play better, tightened it up, only to fall on that third map. So I want to talk about the tactical pauses for a second here. I am surprised that we haven't seen it right as the producers throw it up on the screen to I guess, prove me wrong. We do have a tactical pause that is being used right now by Millenium. This is the perfect opportunity to do it. Yesterday, Fnatic used it when they were inches away from possibly closing out a map. What ended up happening is when they fell behind, they did not have that tactical pause at their advantage, or at their disposal rather, to try and figure things out when their ship started to sink. Now, Millenium has saved it into the point where it's do or die.
Yep.
You don't use it now, you lose the round, you're done, you go home. that's it. So a good time for them to use it, and I believe Liquid still has theirs available to them, so it's something that can be used in overtime if need be.
So the great thing about this moment here for Millenium and the tactical pause, as a matter of fact, is that Millenium will be going to defense likely of the Armory, which as a site is, I think, the sort of thing that is very strategically diverse. So they're going to have a lot of options to choose from, and this time of planning will give them time to flesh out those options and choose the perfect one to counter how Liquid has been playing so far. So good timing, like you say, on that tactical pause. And now, finally, here we go. Well, potentially final round of this match as we head to Armory.
Once again, it is the Nesk show as he is leading the way for his team. Some of those are, of course, low-impact frags, but at the same time, still always impressive to see that difference between the kills and the deaths. As for Millenium, it has been a different story. They've all been doing exactly what they need to do in their respective roles. I haven't really noticed any standout performers for Millenium. I think that's gone round by round. And most importantly, I haven't seen anything glaring that needs to be addressed in terms of weaknesses for Millenium. It's just simply been that their strategies haven't worked as effectively, and they've just been countered effectively by their opponents. So that's the story that I'm looking at the moment, and I really enjoy how closely fought this has been. It's a shame that we saw a 5-0 in map number 1, because we could have been treated to a bit more between these two teams. Might have overtime lurking in the future, depending on what goes on here. And Liquid is stacked up in a position as they are all walking in or walking towards East Stairs. You see some drone work from Sexy Cake. Zig was just below, trying to figure out exactly where Millenium is playing. Millenium, of course, upstairs on Armory lockers.
So Liquid doing the thing again where they just look for the options, look at what they have, and it looks like they're going to try and push their way into offices. That is where their efforts are being focused right now, but they also have Nesk on that north balcony, which is going to be a bit of a pinch between Zig and Nesk and the rest of his team, as a matter of fact. You can see that Millenium have figured out where this push are coming from, or at least it seems they have, primarily stacking themselves up to hold on to archives. Zig just going to try and clear out some utility there using his grenade, barbed wire, and the like, and potentially anything else that was placed on that window. Rise going to be the first layer of defense here. He's playing on that fountain mirror window. Very powerful position, but if he could be eliminated quickly, then you could give his team a huge advantage. So that mark was actually very dangerous. Rise almost lost his life to one of these attackers peeking the window. The mark was coming through coordination. And as the phone calls start to come out, Rise will shoot his teammate, but Renshiro will refrag it onto Nesk, so at least we're even. And that's a very important player and operator no longer with us. You can see the Thermite pushing his way over to the B wall. Zig will hit the nade on the B anchor. Rise will disable that Thermite. Well, not actually disable the Thermite, but does get Zig. And the charge has been detonated, so the wall opened up. E1D popped though, and that's going to force a little bit of standstill time for Millenium. There's still some phone calls to be used from Bullet as well in these last 50 seconds.
Knowledge is power right now for Liquid as well as Millenium. They know where the Jaeger is. They need to hunt Rise down because he's in a good position for a push into B to stop it. And that's going to likely be Sexy Cake's job. Rise is going to let the logic bomb just ring away. Goes for one onto Sexy Cake through the wall. Cannot connect. That carbine is going to bobble just over the head of the Lion. And still, the phone will ring and in perpetuity until he figures out how to shut it off. Looking to see if somebody else will vault into the window. Rise will miss the rotate, and Liquid is very far off. They only have 15 seconds to make this work. Sexy Cake watching the window by Sandwich. It's do or die for them. They are sitting on match point. Plan is going down. Rise pushes in. He's going to take down 2. What a clutch! Rise takes out his teammate earlier on and wins the round. Totally redeems himself. What a finish, and we're going to overtime. We're going to need at least 2 more rounds. Maybe 3 between these two teams.
Now, I believe if you count the team kill, that actually was, in fact, I believe an ace.
That technically is correct.
Yeah. So
feel free to applaud.
Good job there to Rise, getting all 5 kills. Of course, except for 1, but we're just going to forget that happened.
I mean, that's exactly what you need. He just comes right in. He, of course, drop shots, which is a great mechanic that we have in this game.
Yeah, no, wonderful mechanic. And thankfully it's been
disappearing,
around.
by the way.
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah, it's going to be gone soon.
So that tactical timeout, for a second there, it looked like it wasn't going to be as successful as they wanted it to be because Millennium started to lose control of the exterior of their site, but they never gave up control on site. Even when the plant was going down, you still had Millennium in a position where Rise didn't need to clutch that. They still had at least one other operator that was within a position to possibly strike, providing that the cover of, I believe it was Sexy Cake lying prone on the balcony outside, could have taken care of.
I mean, for me, there were a lot of factors that played into that Millennium victory. A big part of that was actually the pick onto Nesk, who was on that north balcony. Because Nesk wasn't just an operator, he wasn't just a guy dropping 13 kills right now. He was also a Capitao who could have cut a line in the middle of the two bomb sites and denied the rotation and allowed Rise to be isolated. But because he couldn't draw that line in the sand, Rise managed to continue being supported by his teammates and at the same time maintain his position in Fountain, which opened him up to getting, like we said, a 4K or I guess a technical ace again if you count the TK. I don't know. I kind of, I'm compelled to.
Are you?
Not sure why.
Yeah. I mean, it was a kill. Still, Rise earned it. He got it, so he earned it.
Zig inside of that office sandwich, just going to be looking for some information, trying to figure out if Millennium are going to be pushing from the east side, or if he's going to be able to call the rotation for his teammates. That Renshiro Thatcher grenade will actually disable the heartbeat detector for just a moment. Interesting decision to try and use it on a pulse. Usually you don't see that very often. It does work for a temporary amount of time, but it isn't usually something people commit to. Nesk, though, will dispatch Renshiro, so no more Thatchers in this round. I think that was from above on the shelf, maybe?
I'm not entirely certain. Nesk seems to have a habit of being everywhere all at the same time and getting strange kills. But the Pulse, who is doing some recon work for his team, will have to move as the Zig's cover is blown open. It does appear that he hit the hatch and is now dropped down. And Levin being fed information, they just sail right by one another. Zig is able to get away scot-free, and Levin is now on the hunt as it's a game of cat and mouse. Zig downstairs inside of customs, Levin in the main lobby, or in east lobby rather, trying to see if there's anybody playing in tellers. There's nobody. Zig now doesn't have any idea, but what this is doing is this is killing the clock, which means that Levin cannot be useful anywhere else, and Millennium is having to commit a lot of time to droning to try to figure out where the pulse is, because you can't plan on this site when you know there's a potential pulse below you.
Yeah, right you are. That heartbeat detector coupled with a C4 will deny the plant at least once, possibly twice if you get two. Now, all of these factors, especially the clock coming into play, means that Millennium are the ones really up against a wall right now. Now, they have a good amount of control in this top floor. However, again, same thing we've been seeing with Liquid actually a lot. They don't have a seemingly committed ideal on where they're going to be pushing. As they start trying to isolate the B-bomb site, they still don't have very much time to do this, and they still have a pulse downstairs. Now, Levin's looking to hunt that pulse, and he'll get the flank, but miss the shot, and continuing to dance and loses the fight outright to Zig. Nesk, meanwhile, on the site gets 2 for himself, and that's 3 in the round. It's all Hicks now on this first overtime round as he moves his way over to the hallway. He has 9 seconds to get 5 kills. Does manage to get it down, but cannot secure the round. And it's going to be Nesk with a 4K.
And 17 kills right now for Nesk. Liquid enabling him to be an absolute monster. And Liquid will go back on the match point. Unsuccessful when given this opportunity last time. We'll see if that changes. Millennium will go on defense. It looked like for a second there we might actually see an ACOG emerge on defense from one of the 2 GIGN operators, but Yogurts will swap off to Legion. They'll go up to Armory, Lockers, and Archives on that second floor. I think that the bathroom gamble worked out. You could have potentially brought it out a second time, but if your strategy is very one-dimensional and you're going to be running the same thing over and over, you're basically gambling on Liquid failing to learn from your particular setup. And most tellingly as well, we're going to see, I think this might be the first time that Blitz is showing up for Liquid on this particular map. Renshiro, who typically runs the Blackbeard, hasn't been running him on Border, and now you see the Blitz of Sexy Cake finally emerging.
I want to say we've seen it before, but I honestly can't recall a round.
I could be wrong.
I mean, Sexy Cake does play Blitz an awful lot, but yeah, it is something of an oddity on Border, at least so far. So, interesting to see it from Sexy Cake. And I think that might just be what they're trying to use to solidify this. Because Sexy Cake doesn't play Blitz for himself. Sexy Cake plays Blitz for Nesk. And I think when he's in a zone to drop 17 kills, there's no reason to not continue to try and enable Nesk even more. So what usually happens is Nesk will drone Sexy Cake into a room and make sure that there's no one in there, or that they know where the players in there are. And then once Sexy Cake has, or rather Nesk has droned Sexy in, Nesk will follow up Sexy, and they'll just commit to their push to try and get those roamers eliminated as a duo team. And they've done a really good job of it so far. And that's the 18th kill now for Nesk. And he is almost, you know, you don't usually want to put so much on one person's shoulders in terms of how much work they're doing for their team, because the truth is, there's a lot that goes on behind the, like, we don't actually get to see for Liquid that it allows Nesk to get these kills. But that was just raw skill right there.
And I don't understand, I mean, maybe Rise just wasn't expecting somebody to be up there, but you rotate and there's an open window in front of you. I mean, it's not necessarily an ideal place for him to play, and that's a mistake from Rise.
It definitely was a little bit of a hiccup there from Millenium, and Rise specifically should not have peeked that window. But also at the same time, there's a fair amount of assertion that you can not expect to be dispatched quite so quickly when you poke your head out a window that early in the round.
Absolutely.
Still a mistake though.
Sexy Cake right now at the doorway into the staff area will look towards CCTV. There's only one defender that is posted up in there, but Sexy Cake triggering the goo mine. That is going to alert the defenders, and it actually does look like there might be two now, as you can see a mark going on to the Bandit. That's Hicks playing with the Iron Sights MP7. An EE1D will allow Nesk to basically flip
No
right
barbed
up.
wire.
No barbed wire. Nesk is in sight. How does Nesk have sight control? He takes out Renshiro. That's kill 19. He's looking for 20. Is he going to get it? He sees the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie right now engaging. There's going to be a mark, a rotate. No! 20 kills for Nesk. He'll sit at 19. Sexy Cake taking out Yogurts. There's only 2 members of Millenium left. You've got Hicks and you've got Leven. And 1 minute on the clock. And you can see Bullet going for a drone work. He's going to tase the Bandit. Hicks gets hit, and that's trying to prompt him to move so that Bullet could potentially take him down. He sees the head of the German operator for just 1 second, but Hicks wisely is going to retreat over to Sandwich. Sexy Cake is currently a goo magnet, as he's going to get hit with another trap, as he is essentially just a human drone. Hicks will be under watch from Bullet's drone, as now Sexy Cake is able to walk in. PSK takes out Leven, and Hicks is going to have to clutch 1v4, but he's going to meet a Blitz, and Liquid want their rematch. They're going to get it to the finals. The Brazilians go. What a match between these two teams. Millenium so close, yet so far. What a performance.
And individually, Nesk dropping 19 kills, I believe, in that map alone. But throughout this tournament, Nesk and his team have been playing dominantly, and they just beat out another team who has been doing very well, Millenium, who will go home a little bit less happy than they potentially could have been.
There are players who will play an entire 3-map series and not accumulate 19 kills.
Oh, we've seen a lot of that actually. In the last day, we've seen a couple players who go through a 3-match series and get like 3 or 4.
I know we often say that kill death doesn't matter, and I know often we say that there's more important, contributions you can make.
Round of applause for Millenium, who did put up a heck of a fight against Liquid. It was not a one-sided ordeal, apart, of course, from Coastline, but we'll just not count that.
This would have been another rematch if Millenium had faced Penta